Certainly, here's the script for Section 1 with a straightforward approach, focusing on detail without repetition or excess. The alien leaders approached Earth, their sleek ships casting shadows across the skies. They moved with calm, precise confidence. From their vantage point in orbit, Earth seemed almost peaceful. They had conquered planets far more advanced than this blue and green speck. To them, Earth was a simple conquest, almost laughably so. They had spent years studying the technology humans relied on, chuckling at what they saw as relics of a primitive age. No shields, no plasma cannons, no cybernetic drones. Just bullets and gunpowder. A species stuck in a past that should have been left behind. The alien generals gathered in their command center, scanning live images from the reconnaissance drones. As they zoomed in on human military bases, they caught sight of weapons they hadn't seen in centuries. Soldiers were stationed behind heavy iron guns, their barrels gleaming under the sun. One of the leaders snorted. "They expect to defeat us with those?" Another leader joined in. "We've destroyed entire civilizations armed with energy shields and teleportation grids. This will be efficient." They spoke with such certainty, dismissing the threat as trivial. Below, at one of the forward bases, a seasoned soldier prepared his position. He was trained in an old but reliable weapon, the .50 cal, a gun known for its brute power. His unit had been briefed on the approaching threat, and they knew what they were up against. High-ranking officials had warned them about the alien invaders, creatures who laughed at their defenses. But the soldier was calm, focused. He adjusted the heavy gun, feeling its weight, a familiar comfort. His hands moved skillfully, loading it with rounds that gleamed, almost like they were waiting for their moment to strike. The alien drones hovered above, capturing images, sending back real-time updates. The generals observed the soldier and his weapon, amused by the primitive contraption. "Look at them! Clinging to their outdated machines," one sneered. The soldier on the ground couldn't hear them, but he could feel their presence. It was like a pressure in the air, an unnatural stillness before the storm. He adjusted his stance, his gaze steady, waiting. He knew what the .50 cal could do. He had seen its power in training, how it tore through barriers, shattered obstacles. He knew this primitive weapon was far from helpless. As the alien crafts descended, there was a quiet confidence in the soldier's heart. He was one of the few chosen to hold the line here, at a critical base that guarded millions. The aliens drew closer, their crafts whirring with high-pitched sounds as they skimmed the edge of the atmosphere. Inside their command center, the alien leaders watched, amused but also a bit curious. They had come to study humans, to witness this species and its defenses, just before their final surrender. They zoomed in, noting every detail, from the soldier's expression to the strange but bulky weapon at his side. The soldier raised his eyes, taking in the distant shapes moving in the sky, and steadied his hand on the weapon's trigger. He wasn't afraid. There was a deep-seated trust between him and this gun. The .50 cal was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of resilience, of generations who had fought with grit and strength. And he knew, as he prepared for whatever came, that he was more than a lone figure against an invasion. He was part of a long tradition of fighters, men and women who had faced impossible odds and won, time and time again. The first alien craft moved into firing range, sleek and shimmering with advanced energy fields. The alien commanders exchanged glances, murmuring about how quickly the humans would fall. But in the soldiers' hands, the .50 cal was a force beyond their understanding. It was a gun that could slice through metal, puncture armor, and tear through the toughest defenses. He took a deep breath, his heartbeats slowing, as he prepared for the first shot. For him, this was more than a fight, it was a testament, a defiance against those who thought they were invincible. In those moments, as the alien leaders chuckled and prepared to record their triumph, they didn't see what lay ahead. They didn't understand what the soldier knew, that sometimes the simplest tools, in the hands of someone who knows their worth, can become a powerful force. The alien leaders leaned closer to the screens, oblivious to the change in the soldier's stance, the subtle shift that only experience could bring. They had no idea that they were seconds away from witnessing a reality they could not fathom. The soldier's fingers tightened on the trigger, his breath a steady rhythm. He could hear the hum of the alien crafts, almost taste the arrogance radiating from their formations. But he wasn't concerned with them, with their technology, or their superiority. He was only focused on his task. The moment he would unleash the .50 cal against what others saw as an impossible foe. And as he sighted the first target, steadying his aim, the world seemed to pause. In the alien command center, there was still a quiet laughter, an assuredness that victory was a given. They watched the soldier with detached interest, almost as if they were observing an experiment. To them, he was a curiosity, a piece of a species that had somehow survived by clinging to outdated tools. They saw his weapon as a relic, something to be studied and discarded. But they would soon learn that there are some forces that can't be calculated, some moments that shift everything in an instant. With the first press of the trigger, the soldier sent a round hurtling through the air, a bullet designed to shatter steel, to obliterate anything in its path. It moved with a force and precision that defied what the aliens had expected. And as it met its mark, tearing through the alien craft, causing it to lurch and twist, there was a flicker of confusion on the alien leaders' faces. They hadn't expected this. They hadn't understood that, in the hands of a skilled operator, this primitive weapon could become something more. The alien craft's descent brought them closer to Earth's defenses, where the human soldier steadied his grip on the .50 cal. The aliens, unfazed, continued their advance, confident that the weapon posed no real threat. But as the first shot fired, the atmosphere shifted. The sound was a low, thunderous boom that cut through the air, far more powerful than anything the alien commanders had anticipated. The round flew fast, ripping through the lead craft's shimmering energy shield like paper. The alien ship jerked sideways, the trajectory interrupted by the sheer force, smoke and sparks trailing from the unexpected damage. In the alien command center, a stunned silence replaced the initial smugness. The leaders leaned forward, watching the damage feed. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in their eyes. One leader barked an order, demanding a reformation of the attack. More ships moved forward, forming a protective formation around their damaged craft. The soldier below adjusted his aim, unperturbed, focusing on his next target. He knew the .50 cal had only just shown a fraction of its strength. The second shot fired, as precise as the first. Another alien craft staggered, its advanced shields torn apart by the bullet's raw power. The human soldier, calm and calculating, continued to fire, each shot strategic, purposeful. Every time the bullet hit, it sent shockwaves through the alien formation. Their ships were equipped with technology designed to withstand energy-based weaponry, not physical force delivered with such precision and power. Shields that deflected laser beams were useless against a .50 cal round traveling at blistering speeds. Alien pilots inside the crafts felt the impact, struggling to stabilize their controls. The soldiers' rounds slammed into their vessels with brutal efficiency, exposing a fatal flaw in their defenses. The commanders, now visibly agitated, ordered immediate countermeasures. Alien ships unleashed an array of energy blasts, hoping to suppress the human defender. The soldier stayed low, dodging the first wave of attacks, using the terrain for cover, his focus unwavering. This was a battle of patience, a test of skill and resolve. He understood the .50 cal's limitations but also its potential, and he was determined to exploit it fully. The alien commanders grew desperate. They ordered shields to be reinforced, the intensity of energy blasts increased. But for every adjustment they made, the soldier adapted, finding weaknesses, hitting vulnerable spots. The .50 cal was proving to be far more than they'd bargained for. It wasn't just the weapon but the soldier's skill, his mastery over its power, that was turning the tide. Alien leaders began to realize they'd severely underestimated their opponent, mistaking simplicity for weakness. Panic spread among the alien ranks as the realization sank in. Their ships weren't built to handle this. The .50 cal bullets tore through one vessel after another, reducing their once formidable formation into a scattered array of smoldering wrecks. The commanders, now in full crisis mode, scrambled to adapt. Their sophisticated targeting systems struggled to lock onto the soldier, who moved with practiced precision, each shot a calculated risk that paid off with devastating results. The soldier's rhythm never faltered. He fired, reloaded, adjusted, fired again, each motion smooth, efficient, the result of countless hours of training. His familiarity with the .50 cal transformed the battle, each shot a testament to his expertise and confidence. His rounds shattered hulls, severed circuits, and punctured fuel cells, reducing alien ships to flaming wreckage. The alien commanders, seeing their forces disintegrate, switched tactics again, ordering evasive maneuvers, desperate to break the humans' line of sight. But even their most sophisticated maneuvers were no match for the .50 cal's sheer power and the soldiers' unyielding focus. By now, the alien forces had suffered significant losses. The commanders ordered a retreat to regroup, something they had never imagined would be necessary against such primitive technology. As they pulled back, the soldier held his position, watching them scatter, noting the dents he had made in their arrogance. The .50 cal was no longer a laughing matter. In their desperation, alien leaders tried to make sense of their failure, studying the battle recordings, analyzing the trajectory of the bullets, the impact patterns. But all their data only led them to one conclusion: they were facing a force they didn't understand, a resilience that defied their expectations. The alien leaders, humiliated but unyielding, planned their next move, determined to overwhelm this seemingly unstoppable force. They hadn't come this far to be bested by a single soldier, armed with a weapon they had once dismissed as primitive. The commanders made their decision, deploying their elite forces, equipped with the highest grade armor, experimental shields, and orders to neutralize the human defender at any cost. But for every move the alien commanders made, the soldier countered with a shot that resonated through the battlefield, a reminder of Earth's unexpected strength. His .50 cal had become a symbol of defiance, a force that turned the tide, even when the odds were stacked against him. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear: this primitive weapon, wielded by a soldier who knew its worth, had shown the aliens that power isn't always measured by technology alone. The alien leaders, finally shaken by the brutal effectiveness of the .50 cal, adapted their strategy. This human weapon had exposed a flaw they had never considered. They called for reinforcement shields, adding layers of protection over their crafts. They directed pilots to fly in tighter formations, hoping the additional cover would repel the bullets. The commanders reprogrammed targeting systems to track the soldier more effectively, switching to a more calculated approach. The air crackled with tension as alien engineers worked tirelessly, attempting to create barriers that could withstand the impact of the weapon they had initially dismissed. The alien forces descended again, this time more cautiously. The soldier, aware of their adjustments, kept his eyes trained on his targets, fingers steady on the trigger. The aliens believed they had found a countermeasure, convinced that their new defenses would neutralize this weapon. They approached with calculated precision, assuming the changes would render the human threat harmless. But they had miscalculated again, underestimating both the range and force of each round. As he fired, the bullets pierced through the reinforced shields, ripping into the crafts with the same devastating effect as before. The first few ships faltered, thrown into disarray by the .50 cal's uncompromising power. Alien commanders, monitoring from their ships, watched in frustration as their new defenses crumbled. They couldn't understand how a single weapon could continue to penetrate their reinforced shields. The soldiers' rounds found weak points with unerring accuracy, shredding through energy fields, metal, and armor as though they were paper. Each shot carried a message: Earth's defenses weren't as obsolete as they'd assumed. Growing desperate, the alien leaders ordered an even heavier response, directing their ships to unleash a relentless barrage of energy blasts, hoping to overwhelm the human with sheer firepower. The sky lit up, beams of energy slicing through the air in rapid succession. They poured everything they had into the assault, determined to suppress the soldiers' fire. Yet the soldier adapted. He moved swiftly between positions, always one step ahead of their targeting systems. His focus remained unbroken, each shot precise, every movement calculated to evade the incoming attacks. The alien leaders soon realized their mistake. The more firepower they threw at him, the more vulnerable they became, exposing themselves to the soldiers' line of sight. The .50 cal continued to fire, its rounds puncturing through their defenses, striking with deadly efficiency. Their initial amusement had long faded, replaced by a growing respect and fear for this opponent. They saw, perhaps for the first time, that they were facing more than just a weapon. They were up against a skilled warrior who wielded that weapon with deadly expertise. Alien commanders, frustrated and disoriented, called for a new approach. They ordered their troops to disperse, scattering their formation to create a harder target. They believed this tactic would limit the soldiers' ability to pick them off. But once again, the human skill proved formidable. He adjusted effortlessly, aiming with precision, each shot cutting through the chaos. The .50 cal rounds struck isolated targets with pinpoint accuracy, dismantling their ranks one by one. Desperation crept into the alien leaders' strategy. They authorized the use of specialized cloaking devices, hoping invisibility would finally give them the upper hand. Ships shimmered, blending with the surroundings, becoming almost indistinguishable against the sky. They believed the soldier would be powerless against cloaked targets. But the soldier didn't rely solely on sight. His training had taught him to read patterns, anticipate movements. He fired, and once again, his bullets met their mark, finding the hidden ships with unerring accuracy. The alien leaders watched in disbelief as their cloaked vessels faltered, crashing to the ground as the .50 cal tore through them. With every failed tactic, the alien forces grew weaker, their numbers dwindling. The leaders, faced with the unraveling of their forces, attempted a final strategy. They launched their heaviest, most advanced warships, each equipped with the best armor and weaponry they had. These ships were their ultimate defense, designed to withstand the harshest conditions. They believed, with conviction, that these warships would finally overpower the human and his .50 cal. But as the first warship came into range, it too was met with the relentless force of the soldiers' fire. The .50 cal round struck the warship's armor, denting its surface, then puncturing through, causing internal explosions that rocked the entire vessel. The alien leaders could only watch, their pride and assumptions shattered, as their strongest ships fell one after another. They had thrown every advantage they possessed against this human, yet none of it had been enough. The .50 cal's raw power, combined with the soldiers' skill, had exposed every flaw in their strategy, turning their sophisticated technology into little more than twisted wreckage. Now, the alien commanders faced a truth they could no longer ignore. Earth's defenders, though equipped with what they had considered primitive weapons, had something that went beyond technology. It was an understanding of battle, an unbreakable resolve, and an instinct honed through countless conflicts. They began to see that this was no mere fluke. It was the strength of a species that had survived on resilience and adaptability. Their pride wounded, the alien leaders withdrew their forces to regroup, determined to find a solution. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. The alien commanders, now forced to face the brutal reality of their failure, activated their elite forces. These were the finest warriors in their ranks, trained for the most difficult missions, equipped with experimental technology meant to counter any threat. The commanders were determined that this elite unit would be the end of the human defender. They dispatched these warriors with strict orders: neutralize the target at all costs. Advanced armor, designed to absorb any physical force, shielded the elite warriors as they descended. Their weapons, honed and precise, were powered by alien tech that could devastate entire platoons. This time, they were confident. This time, they were certain the human would fall. On the ground, the soldier waited, observing the movement of this new wave. Each elite warrior moved with a calculated rhythm, faster and more precise than the regular alien forces. They advanced with discipline, clearly aware of the .50 cal's lethal potential. Yet, they underestimated the soldiers' skill once more. The alien commanders believed that armor alone would ensure victory, that numbers would overpower, but the soldier's experience told him otherwise. His grip tightened on the .50 cal, his senses heightened. He had faced skilled opponents before, and he knew the importance of precision. As the first elite warrior drew close, the soldier fired a single shot, the bullet tearing through the air with the same deadly speed as before. But this time, the armor held, at first. The alien staggered, surprised but unharmed. The commanders felt a surge of confidence, a fleeting belief that their elite warriors could withstand the gun's power. But the soldier did not relent. He fired again, and again, targeting weak spots in the armor, places where even the toughest shield could be breached. The second shot punctured the protective layer, piercing the alien's core. The elite soldier fell, and with that, the alien commander's confidence was fractured once more. The remaining elite warriors spread out, adapting to the human's tactics, trying to overwhelm him from multiple directions. They unleashed a barrage of advanced weapons, the air filled with concentrated blasts. The commanders believed that if they kept the pressure high enough, the human would have no chance to retaliate. Yet, the soldier's training prevailed. He moved with a practiced agility, anticipating their attacks, evading their fire with minimal movement, preserving his focus for the .50 cal's relentless precision. Each time he fired, an alien fell, armor or not. Alien commanders grew desperate. They ordered the elite soldiers to use hand-to-hand combat if necessary, to close the distance and eliminate the human by any means. The elite warriors charged, determined to get within striking range. The soldier maintained his calm, waiting for the perfect moment. As they closed in, he aimed and fired at close range, the .50 cal round too powerful for even the strongest armor to withstand. The aliens faltered, their momentum shattered with each precise shot. The commanders, now fully aware of their elite unit's inability to overcome the human, made a final attempt. They deployed new experimental shields, hoping these could withstand the relentless fire. They reconfigured their armor, directing the remaining forces to target the human's weapon, to disable it rather than engage him directly. The commanders believed that without the .50 cal, the human would be defenseless. But they were wrong. Each elite soldier who approached found themselves outmatched, their defenses crumbling against the unyielding force of the .50 cal. Even when they attempted to attack the weapon itself, the soldier countered with deadly efficiency, protecting his gun as if it were a part of him. The alien commanders watched as one elite warrior after another fell, their technology, their training, their best efforts reduced to nothing in the face of the soldier's expertise. By now, the alien forces were exhausted, their numbers significantly reduced. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of what had once been their elite unit, a testament to the resilience and power of a single human defender. The commanders, faced with undeniable defeat, began to retreat, pulling back their remaining troops. They realized that their pride, their arrogance, had blinded them to the truth. This human, armed with what they had once mocked as primitive, had bested them at every turn. As they withdrew, the alien commanders couldn't shake the profound realization that had settled upon them. This was no ordinary battle. This was a testament to Earth's unexpected strength, a force they had never truly understood. And as they left, they took with them the memory of a single human soldier, armed with a weapon they had laughed at, who had shown them that some battles are won not by technology but by the skill and resolve of those who wield it. The alien commanders, now forced to confront their mistakes, launched a final, desperate assault. They committed their remaining forces, pooling the last of their resources into an ultimate strike, unwilling to concede to a single human armed with what they once considered primitive. Every ship, every weapon, every elite warrior was mobilized in one determined wave, converging on the soldier's location with precision and fury. They intended to overwhelm him entirely, to end the humiliation they had suffered at his hands. Failure was not an option. Retreat would mean disgrace among their kind. This final effort was everything they had left. On the ground, the soldier prepared himself for the coming onslaught. He knew what was at stake, felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The .50 cal had become his strongest ally, a steadfast weapon that had turned the tide against countless foes. But he understood that this battle was different. The alien forces were unified now, more aggressive, faster, and relentless, determined to crush him by sheer numbers if nothing else. He steeled himself, every sense alert, every movement sharp and precise. He was ready to face their assault, no matter how overwhelming it appeared. The aliens attacked in waves, each one more intense than the last. Ships buzzed around him, their weapons firing in synchronized patterns, trying to pin him down, to box him into a corner with no escape. But he was prepared. Each pull of the trigger sent a powerful round hurtling toward an alien target, cutting through metal and armor, shattering shields. The aliens watched in horror as their craft fell one by one, their best tactics unraveling under the unrelenting power of the .50 cal. For each ship they lost, their resolve wavered, and the commanders felt the weight of their imminent defeat. Desperation pushed the alien forces to abandon all caution. They closed in tighter, risking everything to land a hit, to bring the human down by force. They thought proximity would give them an advantage, that they could overwhelm him by sheer volume at close range. Yet, the soldier's focus remained sharp. His precision never faltered, his aim unerring, each shot finding its mark with brutal efficiency. The closer the aliens approached, the easier they became to target, their advanced technology meaningless against his calm resolve and lethal skill. He turned their advantage into his strength, dismantling their ranks with a steady rhythm that never faltered. The commanders, watching the battle from a distance, were now faced with an undeniable truth. This human was more than a skilled soldier. He was a force of nature, unbreakable, unstoppable, using every tool at his disposal to dismantle their forces. Their pride had blinded them to his capabilities, their technology outmatched not by superior weaponry but by the indomitable will of a single man. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, but now they saw the full cost of their arrogance. Every tactic, every strategy had failed against the .50 cal and the soldier who wielded it. As the battle drew to a close, the alien forces began to fracture. Panic spread through their ranks, the remaining troops hesitating, uncertain. The commander's once unshakable confidence dissolved into frantic orders and chaotic maneuvers. Their pride, their power, their very identity as conquerors had been crushed under the weight of a fight they could not win. They had believed themselves invincible, yet here they were, defeated not by an army or a fleet but by one human and his primitive weapon. Finally, with their forces decimated and their morale shattered, the alien commanders gave the order to retreat. They pulled back the remnants of their fleet, abandoning the battlefield, their ranks in disarray. They had come to conquer Earth, to claim it as a prize, but they left in defeat, humbled by the resilience of a species they had once mocked. They took with them the memory of a battle that had reshaped their understanding of strength, of power, and of what it meant to be truly formidable. As they retreated, the alien commanders could only reflect on their failure. Their technology, their tactics, their pride, all had been undone by a single human who had refused to back down. This soldier, armed with the .50 cal they had dismissed as a relic, had shown them the limits of their superiority, the flaws in their confidence. They left Earth not just in defeat, but with a deep, unsettling respect for those they had tried to conquer. This was a lesson they would not soon forget. The human, and his weapon, had proven that strength is not always found in the most advanced tools or the highest ranks. Sometimes, true power lies in the courage to stand firm, even when the odds seem impossible. For the alien leaders, this was a defeat that would linger, a reminder of their own hubris. They had faced a force they couldn't understand, a strength they couldn't quantify. And as they left Earth's atmosphere, the commanders could only wonder if they would ever again encounter such a fierce resistance. The human soldier and his .50 cal had changed them, had revealed the vulnerability beneath their advanced technology, had shown them that even the simplest weapons, in the hands of someone with resolve, could become unstoppable.